gentlemen, and thank you very much for staying tuned with us. You're still watching Financial Markets, and today joining me on set is Mr. Joseph Chitamirike, who is the Chief Executive Officer at Altex East Africa. Now, Altex East Africa is a private exchange here in Uganda that offers securities across East Africa without borders. You can invest in Kenya, you can invest in Tanzania, in Uganda as well, at the convenience of your phone. This is all courtesy of Altex East Africa. But recently, we've seen the interest rates on the bonds, according to Capital Markets Authority, go down. And this is depending on their report, the annual report that was released recently. And we would like to talk a little bit more about this with Mr. Joseph. Mr. Joseph, you're most welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. Pleased to be back.
Yes. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a busy period, but also fairly uncertain financially. We saw interest rates go up. We saw, inflation was raging. We're waiting eagerly for the report of September, if there's any going to come from the bank on the inflation picture. Yeah.
So now let's start with the bonds, because people right now have not been very much active in the equities market because of the uncertainty, like you said. People want right now safer investments, and they're running more towards the debt instruments. But when you look at the second quarter reports from CMA, it shows that there was a decline from over 3.1 in the first quarter trillion to 2.6 trillion. Not only a decline in the amount that was issued, but also a decline in the rates on the long-term instruments like the 2-year, the 3-year, and the 5-year bonds. And the CMA says that this is attributed to the fact that there was a decline in the performance, and also the interest rates that the bidders were bringing in were quite high, and so they rejected most of the bids. Do you buy this?
First of all, the bonds that the 10 years that you're talking about are low. They are on the short end. Short end rates don't usually go too high, because if they go high, then they distort the yield curve. They distort the yield curve completely. If they rise on the short end, it means that the long end is going to rise. So there was no justification for long end to rise, not yet, at least. And that's why some of the bids that were coming in were rejected. Okay. So now, if you look at the short end, if they were rising, then there was a short-term kick. There was a short-term kick, but the expectation over time is that inflation will be controlled and will bring the curve back to a more normal location. Yes. So it is understandable, at least from my perspective, that one bids on the long were rejected, maybe bids on the short were accepted, but they accepted because the inflation picture is short to medium is looking like it will improve, and I think we're already feeling it in that petroleum prices have started to moderate, and because they're moderating, and because that was the main kicker in the inflation picture. So because they're moderating, we expect that will feed through and cool down inflation numbers in the next 3 to 6 months. Yes.
So should people still be more excited about the coming bonds and the bills in the near future?
I'm sure the bond market has been continues to be a good place to invest. I don't have any doubt about that. Continues to be a good place to invest. The distortions of the petroleum prices, those major price kicks, are going to fade out, and then we shall have a stable bond market again. For sure, I'm expecting that if you're able to invest in this market or in the market of the last 3 months, then you'll be able to invest in the market that's coming.
Well, we recently saw on the page of Voltex a couple of bonds that were issued, and we see them 2027, 2031, with very attractive interest rates here. Tell us about these.
Yeah, those are still on the short end, which is where I was saying that the inflation picture might affect the bonds on the short end more than it would affect the bonds on the long end of the yield curve. And the long end is 20 years. Government has just issued recently a 20-year.
Yeah, 2040.
That 2042 actually.
42.
Yes. So we don't expect the long-term interest rate to be that affected. They were affected slightly, but don't expect them. But the short-term, definitely. And anybody trading in that on those bonds would see the change. But it's because they're short-term themselves. They are leaving the market. Those bonds are maturing soon. You don't expect them to maintain, to bear a big influence on the shape of the yield curve in future. Yeah.
Oh, now getting back to our normal investors here in Uganda.
Yes.
Voltex has tried to make these securities very accessible.
Yes.
In a way that everyone can now use their smartphone or their small phone to access them through Zabu.
Yes.
Let's get back to the common Ugandan.
Yes.
How can they benefit from this initiative, and what is the aim of the initiative?
It's a circular story of how somebody can benefit many ways. One, as a direct investor, if you buy a bond, you get paid interest. Okay, but I ask people to look at the interest that you're likely to be paid. It's 15, 16, 17%. Look at that interest and see whether you have an alternative, a better alternative to it. Because if you have a better alternative, then you better invest in that. Okay, but it's you got to look to weigh both in terms of risk and return. Okay, so if you have a better alternative, absolutely invest there. Secondly, is that if you have never been in the securities market, if you have never invested, like most of the investors who come to Voltex, I've really never been in the securities market. They're learning as we teach. They're learning as we teach. And that, to me, that's the most exciting. Because once somebody is able to learn, understand a bond, then they become an investor. Okay? Once somebody is able to understand an exchange traded fund, they're able to become an investor, and therefore they will stay in the market. Okay? So we offer this kind of instruction and guidance, and it helps us to grow the numbers we have. So the other benefit is that you get to learn. You get to learn about this and the alternatives, bonds and the alternatives, ETFs and the equities and the alternatives. You get to learn about them, and that's a huge benefit, and that's a very long-term benefit, because once you have learned, you're not going to forget. You're going to stay in the market. But interest rate-wise, this is what happens, and this is why, as we instruct people on investing, on selecting securities opportunities, we also tell them that they can determine when to buy and when to sell. Okay. So if you bought a bond with a yield of 18, okay, and suddenly it shows up in the information we are disseminating that it has a yield of 12, sell it, because then you will earn. Sell and then you'll earn. So if that's the market that's giving you 12, sell. Okay. So people are getting to learn how bonds work, and we are getting really excited when we see that we can pass on this information. So there are benefits, when interest rates rise, you want to hold, So you get it at 18, you hold on to it. You know, it will still pay you 18. Okay. If you then have an opportunity in the market that competes with that 18, that's actually telling you to sell, absolutely sell. So this is why we have a market in place, a market where you can actually place your order on the phone, and you know, the proceeds will then come to you. So there are many benefits, but what we are instructing people about more is the whole market. It's not just one instrument. Is that if you're taking your 100,000 from this instrument, where are you going to put it? Okay. If you have a better opportunity, absolutely put it there. So you need to know more than one, understand the opportunities a lot better, and then execute.
Yes.
So it's an ongoing process, and we're pleased to have the investors that we have who are learning, and I'm sure the audience that we have on S24 is also, you know, picking up on this. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Now, there's a concern about the taxes. We understand, especially here in Uganda, there's a withholding tax of 20%. When we are trading with Altex, is there a way we bypass that, or somehow it is worked up?
No. The tax, the tax is deducted at source. It's deducted at Bank of Uganda. Okay. So when the funds arrive, and the interest payment arrives at Altex, the tax is already taken. Okay. So that tax is not a problem in the bond market. It's really not a problem in the bond market. It changes the way you price the bond, but it doesn't change. It might affect a price, but the way it affects a spread is the same as whether you have a tax or not. Okay. The gap between the buy price and sell price will be the same whether you have a tax or not. Okay. But if you have a tax, if you have it, so it just shifts that band by the effect of tax. So that's not a huge problem. But it's good for the government. The government can collect some money from there, and if the government wants to keep collecting, that's fine. We have bonds from Kenya that are tax-free.
Absolutely.
That are trading on Altex already, so they are tax-free. So if you don't want to have a tax discussion, buy those. So we shall continue to deliver that variety, so that if tax is your problem, go for the other one.
Distinguish for us between competitive investors and non-competitive investors. There were some people who asked me some time back that you're talking about 200 million, you know, for people who, you know, the bidders, and then for us who have smaller monies, we don't have a say. Can you distinguish for us between these two kinds of investors? And you see, I will distinguish in a second. Yes. But this is part of the reason why Altex came into being, because if you look at the auction structure of Bank of Uganda, they will accept auctions, competitive bids in the auction above a certain amount. Everybody below that will accept the price that Bank of Uganda gives. Exactly.
Okay.
You have no say.
So you really have no say. And so while you're in the market to buy, you are not in the market to determine price.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
But there is mathematically there is no what should I say? Mathematically, there's no. For me, putting in a bid of 10,000 will not affect the price much. Okay. If I put in a bid of 100,000, I will not affect the price much, because the government's offer is 400 billion, or 300 billion. So you can see that even if I put in a bid of 100,000 shillings, and I say I'm offering 16%, you don't affect the price much. So it's okay. There are rules in mathematics. There's a famous one called Pareto, if you've heard of it. And I hate to indulge in mathematics, but there's a famous one called Pareto. In that if you have 80% of the pool, you probably have the price.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Pareto will say you probably have the correct price. Yeah. So if the 20% don't come in, it's fine. You probably have the price. But even if you don't, and you see this is where the markets operate. If you miss the price, the correct price by a few points, when that bond comes to the secondary market, that's where you find Altex. You can actually set your price.
Yes.
Okay? You can actually set your price. Okay? So you find us in a place where you can actually say, okay, Bank of Uganda didn't give me my price, but I think this is the price.
Yes.
You can actually set your price.
And
then you see if there are any takers.
Yes.
Yes.
So with Altex, you mean you can actually set your price much as
Absolutely.
you're on the secondary market?
Absolutely.
Wow,
Even in the secondary market, you can actually offer. But it's not available to Zabu players.
Yes.
The Zabu players also take a market price, an active market price. So if there are other people who are the brokers we have, and the people who are able to, the people who are able to access another system we call U-Trade, so on a computer and on their phones, that person is actually required to put in his price. If he chooses a price that's different from the market price. So if he puts in his price, then absolutely he will. The systems will respond. The market will respond to his price and tell him we shall take this or we shall not be able to take this. Okay, he will know. Okay, but because of that action, you can actually set your price in that market. Yes.
Oh, that's very interesting. The other question was about people being able to invest less than 100,000.
Yes.
How are you able to do that? Because in all these other primary dealers and so many other brokers, they'll tell you if it's not 100,000, we don't have business. But with Zabu, we can see people buying at 25, at 50,000. How possible is that?
Yes, our pricing is very different from the price in the over-the-counter market. That pricing is for the over-the-counter market, which we don't follow. So when we offer the bond stock that we hold, if you look at the over-the-counter market, in some banks you pay 35,000 for a transaction, or 25,000 for a transaction. So if you're going to invest 100,000 and the fee is 25,000, then you will really not be an investor in that market. On entry, you're losing 25% of your money to the fee. So which means that these people who are below that price need the service that's provided by Altex. Okay. Now at Altex, our charge is just 2%. Okay. There are other charges, one for holding an account and one for every transaction, but they're not as significant. So let us say a charge of 2%. So if you come in with your 100,000, yes, you pay us the 2%. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. Interesting.
So it's a world of a difference.
Yes.
And you get that benefit whenever you come to the market. So there's no comparison between somebody who takes 100,000 to the over-the-counter market and somebody who takes 100,000 to Altex. Yeah. So we did this because we managed in setting up Altex we attacked a number of barriers, not just the price barrier. We attacked a number of barriers, and we have successfully overcome all those barriers. Yeah, I can tell you some of them. One of them was that financial price barrier. Two, today you can open your account even if you're sitting in Kotido or Kisoro or Koboko or Busia. You can open your account on Altex. It's paperless. And yet it's a solid process. So the barriers relating to that, if it's a paper process, then somebody needs to deliver your papers to the exchange for your account to be open. And the cost associated with delivering your papers, we have also overcome. Okay? So in other words, in the effort to bring the market as close as possible to this retail investor, we had to get rid of a number of barriers. There are other barriers. There's a knowledge barrier, for instance, which we have also attacked and continue to attack, depending on what we bring. There's a trust barrier, for instance, which very soon we shall list a security that demonstrates that we have overcome. Yes, the CMA has already approved that particular offering, and we plan to bring it to the market soon. So it is these barriers that actually prevent somebody with 100,000 or 200,000 from coming to the market. But the way we have done it actually demonstrates that the barriers have now potentially been overcome. Yes.
Let's talk about the equities market as
Yes.
we wind up. The equities markets at OTEX,
Yes.
how are they? Do you have companies listed on the formal exchanges in Nairobi, Dar es Salaam, or it's an entire different exchange altogether?
Our equities segment has not yet been activated.
Okay.
That's for sure. But at the time we had scheduled to activate it, there was turmoil in the global markets. There was real turmoil. There was some days you see green, other days you see red. You know. So we didn't want to import that volatility. So we decided to wait. But the CMA has already approved the first set of products that are going into that market. And as soon as we think it is right, we shall start to introduce the equities.
Okay.
Yes.
How about the ETFs?
The ETFs are all right. I can say the CMA has approved one set already, the set of 5. Out of the 5, we have delivered one onto the market, and it's doing really well. It's doing really well. The other 4 are coming. We've just needed to build out the market for them, and which we are doing now. Recently we were at Owino Market. We've been in a number of places in that area, talking to people about what the forthcoming issues of securities are bringing to them. So we will start from the bottom of the pyramid, building up, so that people can get to understand what these products are like. But so the outstanding ones, out of the five, we've listed one. So what's outstanding now are securities that have an insurance component. So we're building that out now, and as soon as we are ready, those securities will come to the market.
Well, as we wind up, Mr. Joseph, we would like to know about Zabu in a wholesome manner, just in a few seconds, so that people can actually get to catch up with that as well.
Zabu is a channel that we built on the phone. It uses USSD technology, and it's connected to, it's integrated with mobile money. So it's available on Airtel, it's available on MTN, and if you dial 292, you get into the menu that will enable you to actually open an account.
That's star 292 hash, right?
Yes, star 292 hash. And that will enable you to come open an account with us. And once you're done, within by about 8 p.m. on that day, you should receive a confirmation that your account is now active. So the following morning, 8:30, you can actually start to trade. You can start to invest on OTEX. So it's a great gateway into the market, and it's the first time it's been done. It's a great opening for somebody who would not know where brokers sit, who would not know where the exchange sits, who would not know all these things, but has a bit of money that they can put aside. He has 100,000 he can put aside. He has 15,000 he can put aside, and placing that 15,000, weekly or daily, 15,000 can actually grow your portfolio.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a trouble-free approach to investing in securities. It can actually grow your portfolio, and you just never know. These are the people that we're training now.
Sure.
We shall come to Anthony Sebale in future. But yes. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Joseph, for your time.
Thank you too.
Yes, we wish we had met earlier, but yeah, it's okay. Thank you very much for sparing the time. We hope to see you again.
Thank you. I'll be back anytime. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you very much, viewers. Thank you for staying tuned since the beginning of the show. That was Mr. Joseph Chitamirike, the CEO of Otex East Africa. Some of the most innovative people here when it comes to securities and making them more accessible to you and every individual in East Africa. Thank you. I'll catch you tomorrow, same time, same place. Goodbye for now.